Not making it here. That
you know where we are.
when were you aboard, Mr. Kirby? When were you aboard the Radford?
I think the one on the left.
59, 61.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Okay.
So let's see. In 19, you were a Lieutenant JG, and
Yeah, I left the ship as a JG in 1965.
oh, had you gone through the academy, or how
Yeah,
did you?
yeah.
You had
62 at the academy, went to Radford for 3 years, and then moved on.
okay, and you definitely moved on.
Yeah, it took a while.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
How
we,
did?
we on run here?
Yes, we
Oh,
are.
okay.
How did it feel the first time you put on all that gold braid?
Oh, well, it was a real surprise, number one.
Oh, okay.
Number two was, kind of exciting because it's a new era in your life, but then you wind up finding out you're sort of like an ensign when you first went to your first ship as a new flag officer. So it's a little learning, and everybody brushes you a little harder.
Oh, okay.
As a flag officer.
Where'd you go from the Radford, by the way?
Let's say I left Radford, went off to MIT to graduate school for 3 years.
Oh.
Then went to Washington to NAV, in those days, NAV ships.
Yeah.
Became an engineering duty officer. Then decided I didn't really want to not go back to sea again, so I reverted back to unrestricted line. And went to Belknap as chief engineer for a couple of years, where my good old DCA days on Radford stood me in pretty good stead.
Yeah.
Eventually, I was a commissioning XO on Spruance, the first of the gas turbine ships.
Oh, okay.
And then did a lot of tours in Washington.
Yeah.
Went to command of one of the 963s in Charleston, named John Rogers. Put about 120,000 miles on her in 2 years.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Then went off to become the Tomahawk Cruise Missile Program Manager.
Oh.
I got plugged by one of my former bosses who had been CEO of Belknap when I was there. And put Tomahawk to fleet in the early to mid 80s. And went off and finally became a flag officer and was a program executive officer, which is a one-star job for all the cruise missiles in the Navy, including Harpoon and SLAM and the air-launched cruise missiles, as well as the Tomahawk programs, and all the unmanned aerial vehicle programs for the DoD. So that was kind of fun.
Kept you pretty busy, I bet.
Oh, it was very busy. Had 2 different jobs, basically. One person with 2 different organizations, 2 different jobs.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Then my final tour in the Navy, I was commander of the Space and Naval Warfare Systems Command, which was probably known as Naval X back when most of us were a lot younger.
Yeah.
And when they changed all the SysComs in the 80s, she became Space and Naval Warfare Systems Command. Moved that organization from Washington, D.C. to San Diego, and then retired in San Diego about 10 years ago now.
10 years ago.
So I was after 36 years of active duty. So.
Oh, boy. Long time.
It was
yes.
a while. I had a lot of fun.
Oh, yes.
And,
yes.
in fact, I kept telling my wife, when it stops being fun, I'll get out. And she probably said she wouldn't have any fun anymore.
Okay.
So we retired in San Diego, and we still live out there.
Oh, that's great.
Having a great time. And it's good to see all the crewmen back here.
Oh,
again, particularly folks in the early 60s are here, which is really good.
And you've been here at the museum before, I'm sure.
This is my first time in the museum. Coming to the middle of Ohio is not exactly on my route going to flying from San Diego to Washington, D.C., which I do a lot of.
Yeah. Now, is one of these your uniform?
The one back in the back over here was my uniform.
Oh, okay.
It's on loan to Vane. I told him I need it back when I die so I can be buried in it.
Thank you, sir.